Hi and welcome to Dean Park. It's been pretty hot and sunny over the last few weeks here in the UK, and it's been pretty warm up the loft, which has hampered my progress significantly. However, I've been busy on a couple of projects and I hope to share these with you in my forthcoming update video. There's also been a load of new arrivals to the Dean Park collection, which include the updated Real Track Class 156 in attractive Strathclyde orange and black livery, the updated APT from Hornby, which now comes with several welcomed upgrades from the previous release. We also have the Hornby Class 91 in stunning Flying Scotsman livery. I've added some new Revolution TUA wagons to the collection, as well as a Bachmann Class 90 in rail freight distribution livery. I'll be covering all of these new arrivals in future videos. However, the topic of today's video is the new Accurascale Siphon G vans. I'll take a closer look at this all new vehicle as I put them under close inspection. And finally, just to maintain the Accurascale theme, I have some Class 66 action from the Bo'ness Diesel Gala that took place at the end of May. Seeing the actual locals for the first time has really whet my appetite for Accurascale Shed that's due soon. If you want to know more about the Accurascale Class 66 or Siphon G, click on the link, which is in the description below. Hopefully there's something in there for you, and as always, I welcome all feedback. So please get typing your thoughts in the comments section below. I'd also really appreciate it if you can give this video a like and hit that subscribe button and notification bell to keep you up to date with the latest uploads from the channel. In the meantime, thank you for your continued support of the channel, and I promise to get a layout update to you as soon as it's practically possible. This new 00 gauge vehicle from Accurascale depicts the Siphon G throughout its career on the rail network, with a full suite of versions being accurately tooled. These models were announced in early 2022 and have now arrived in retailers. The range totals 16 vehicles, of which just over half of those are in BR Blue. This particular variant of the Siphon had a long and very useful service, lasting well into the 1980s. However, the history of the Siphon design goes way back to the 19th century. The first Siphons, which were named after GWR's telegraphic code for milk wagon, appeared from Swindon Works in the 1870s. Over the decades, various developments and configurations of these vehicles were introduced to meet the demand for transporting milk around the Great Western Rail network. The usefulness and versatility of the Siphon G design provided the GWR with a bogie van suited to many uses, and this was not lost on British Railways Board as the era of the Big Four gave way to nationalisation in 1948. In the aftermath of World War II, British Railways found itself in dire need of bogie vans capable of express speed running. So it was at this point the 80 new Siphon G vehicles were ordered in 3 lots and built to the 0.33 and 0.62 diagrams, with these being built between October 1950 and October 1955. These vehicles were capable of transporting up to 14 tons of cargo. The new diagram was still referred to as a milk van, even though the Siphon G now served as a more general utility role. They were ideally suited to parcel traffic, but the sustained growth of parcel traffic into the early part of the British nationalisation era probably represented the pinnacle of this type of traffic on the western region. At its peak during the 1950s, 60s and into the 1970s, British Railway was running more than 50 dedicated newspaper trains every weekday, with around 75 services conveying the bulk Sunday editions at the weekend, which was over 75% of the country's entire weekend newspaper production. Later classed NNV and NMV by tops, and in many cases now equipped with electric train heating, the tail end of the 1970s saw 34 Siphon Gs rebranded with the BR Newspapers logo, while the remaining survivors were transferred into departmental traffic. As newspaper traffic dwindled into obscurity during the 1980s, the Siphon Gs were retired from revenue earning service. While most were withdrawn between 1982 and 84, a few soldiered on into 1985 before they too were eventually withdrawn and scrapped. Several Siphon vehicles have been preserved, including one as part of the National Collection and another at the Didcot Railway Centre. Their website is in the description below. The two models I've got here are product codes ACC2421, which is a Siphon G of the 0.62 diagram, and that's in BR Rail Blue newspaper livery. I've also got ACC2924, which is an earlier GWR brown, and that's built to the 0.33 diagram. Both of these have been kindly provided by a friend of mine, Chris. The blue vehicle represents the Siphon during the BR Tops era, by which time it would have been pretty worn out. It was during this era that the use of the vehicles moved from the odd one or two Siphon Gs being mixed in with passenger trains to the use of them in block diagrams, where rakes of 6 to 8 siphons were used to serve the West Country out of Paddington. So, now that we've looked at the broad history of the Siphon vehicles, how do these Accurascale models measure up? Okay, first impressions of both vehicles are favourable. The model captures the look of the prototype and it's light years ahead of any 00 gauge siphon that's gone before. Therefore, drawing any comparisons to the ancient Lima tooling would be stating the obvious, and frankly, I'd be wasting your time. Looking at the side of the BR Blue vehicle, you'll notice that most of the vents are plated over from the earlier versions of the Siphon G in GWR brown livery. The removal of the top and bottom side vents was often done on an ad hoc basis, and having spoken to Accurascale, these subtle tooling differences are being catered for in the new model, allowing for an authentic train to be modelled. The vertical wood panelling is nicely represented with all handles well defined, and I'm impressed how the factory have managed to print the newspaper branding over the uneven surface and external detail. There is no sign of warping or twisting in the moulded body, resulting in a product that is neatly assembled, although the body does come off a little too readily if you're not careful when handling. The paint coverage in these is really good, with the edge between the sides and the roof being really sharp. This unusual painted design was done along the edge of the curved rain strip on the roof. This results in a rather striking appearance, especially in the GWR version with its white roof. Some versions of the Siphon G have ventilated domes on the roof, however both examples I've got here are smooth versions. There's been some debate on the forums surrounding the shade of rail blue being used on these vehicles, with some suggesting it is a tad too light. I've searched for some photographs of X-Works examples of the Siphon G in rail blue, and I came across a few on Paul Bartlett's website. And I have to say I think the blue on the model is fine when comparing it to these photographs. These vehicles faded pretty quickly while in traffic, which makes it even trickier to gauge the paint match on this model. At the gangway ends you'll see the cables relating to the fitting of electric train heating that appear on the Siphon G later in their service careers. The detail here is crisp and well defined, and it's still visible when coupled together, which is something I'll touch on in a moment. The GWR version is free from these additional cables, and it gives a cleaner end profile. Both models have exquisitely fitted grab rails on the ends, and the gangway support framing on top of the suspended silicone moulded gangway connectors is impressive. There's also some fine pipe work fitted around the buffers, so if removing the body for any reason, be careful with these details. Staying with the gangway connectors for a moment, I've only ever seen this silicone type fitted, and that was on the Hornby Class 800 Azumas. The use of silicone on these is a good move, as due to the prominent design of the gangway connectors, it might look a bit toy-like if it was moulded from rigid plastic. The model is fitted with small tension lock couplers which slot into an any end pocket. The pocket itself is housed in a dovetail socket that allows the coupler to pivot from side to side as necessary. The use of tension lock couplers is pretty much fitted to every 00 gauge model as a standard feature. However, these tend to leave an unsightly gap between most rolling stock, and these siphons suffer from the same issue. A combination of large gangway connectors and a coupler that's attached to the bogie contribute to this gap. Looking at the design of the Siphon G, it would be near on impossible to fit a kinematic coupler mechanism to the model, as the bogies go pretty much to the end of the body. However, all is not lost, as Accurascale have supplied very discreet magnetic couplers in the detailing pack. This closes the gap somewhat, but you might find something that brings them even closer together from Hunt Couplings. Check out their website, the link to this is in the description below. The bogies have a wealth of detail, with the underframe being packed with all the detail present on the real vans. The leaf springs are beautifully done, as are the coil springs found amid the bogie frame. As I've come to expect from an Accurascale model, the wheel sets move extremely freely thanks to pinpoint axles being secured in brass bearings. The wheel sets have also been suitably blackened, and the model allows easy conversion to EM or P4 wheel sets to please the scale purists out there. The model has some really exquisite braking fittings fitted along with the detailed battery boxes in the correct locations. Modelers will have to be careful when handling these vehicles, as there is so much thin and finely fitted detail to the underframe. I think Accurascale have just about got away with the balance between fine detail and allowing the model to be robust enough to be used when handling and using on a layout. Any more detail might have tipped the balance, however. So, it's going pretty well so far, but how do these run on the track? Well, I'll run my usual test over complex track work at sometimes unrealistic speeds. I'll use both tension lock and magnetic couplers to see if they improve the appearance while running on the track. Having looked at and tested the model around the layout, I'd rate it as follows. Appearance and accuracy are full marks. It's a stunning recreation of the prototype. Performance is 4. It operated on the track without fault. However, the magnetic couplers supplied really aren't strong enough, and I suspect if you had the Siphon G behind a loco with other coaches trailing, the magnetic coupler wouldn't be strong enough to hold the train together. The only other issue for me was the slight gap between the coaches when coupled up. This was improved a wee bit by using the magnetic coupler supplied. However, if you want it a little bit closer still, I'd head over to the West Hill Wagon Works website and pick up a suitable set of magnetic couplers. The link to that website is in the description below. Packaging is robust and does the job. The plastic sheath is a little thin and has warped a little, but this isn't to the detriment of the vehicle. Details and features are full marks all day long, and if I was to score it any lower, it would be a gross injustice. Value for money is 4.5 arrows, and whilst not considered cheap at just shy of £55, it still represents good value in today's market, and you get a lot of model for your money. If you consider other manufacturers' coaching stock, Accurascale have done well to keep the price of the Siphon G down. It's a really impressive product, however, I've resisted the temptation to go for one myself, mainly due to their operational region and era being outside what I do at Dean Park. So there you have it, the definitive Siphon G van, packed with detail and wonderfully presented by Accurascale. These models are still in stock on the Accurascale website and most of their network retailers. The link to the website is in the description below. that's all I've got for you in this episode. I hope you enjoyed seeing the new Siphon G model, and I'd be really keen to hear your thoughts on this new model. So please add these in the comments section below. In the meantime, thanks for watching, stay safe, and cheers for now.